Priests and scribes rose as Jesus was brought before Pilate. They began to accuse him, saying, "We found this man perverting our nation, forbidding us to pay taxes to the emperor, and saying that he himself is the Messiah, a king." Then Pilate asked him,
Are you the king of the Jews?
You say so.
I find no basis for an accusation against this man.
but they were insistent.
He stirs up the people by teaching throughout all Judea.
He tells us not to pay taxes.
He even claims to be the Messiah.
Pilate then called together the chief priests, the leaders, and the people, and said to them, they had brought Pilate, this man, as one who was perverting the people. But in his examination of Jesus, Pilate felt that Jesus was not guilty of all that he had been accused of. In fact, Pilate's superior Herod had also found Jesus was not guilty.
This man has done nothing to deserve death.
When Jesus was first presented at the temple, Simeon said to Mary, "This child is destined for the falling and the rising of many, and a sword shall pierce through your own soul too."
My son, my son.
Look, he's the king of the Jews, but he can't even carry his own cross.
Oh, this is awful. This poor man.
Jesus, many of which were women of Jerusalem. They were greatly grieved and were sobbing and beating their chests. Suddenly, Jesus stopped walking and slowly turned around.
Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me.
Jesus' message was not exactly comforting. He told them not to be sad for him, but to weep for themselves and for their children. It is a message that greater distress would surely be coming, including the destruction and division of Jerusalem and the exile of its people. It is a message that urges them to introspect on the broad impact of the events taking place that day, to mourn the consequences of the sins being committed by the people of this passion. Jesus is not discouraging grief, but urging spiritual action, not just religious sentimentality.
Here, king. Here's a crown for the king of Jews.
It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. The sun's light failed. The curtains of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, crying out in a loud voice, said,
Father, into your hands I commend thee.
Having said this, he breathed his last.
One of the centurions that accompanied the procession was greatly moved. What he had seen overtook his sensibilities, and he called out in praise and in anguish.
Oh, certainly, this man was the Son of God.
When all the crowds of spectators who had gathered there for this spectacle saw what had taken place, they returned home, beating their chests in grief. But all his friends, including the woman, stood at a distance, watching these things.
I wonder how the disciples felt. Their friend and leader brutally killed before their eyes.
I wonder how Judas felt. Did he remorse? Did he realize the gravity of his betrayal of his friend?
I wonder if God wept too, watching the sacrifice of his son. Thankfully, we now know that the story doesn't end there. I imagine the next 48 hours felt like walking in a black hole. I imagine that the joy and glorious celebration of just a few days prior sat bitterly in the back of people's throats, choked with grief.
I wonder. Thank you for coming to EYC's Living Stations of the Cross. We hope that you experience the presence of God while here. Please go create a cross and a crown and be reminded of our hope and faith in service to our Lord Jesus Christ.
You are invited to take a closer look at the Holy Week paintings on the wall. Many of the artists are here and would love to answer your questions about the symbolism and inspiration that went into their work.
You are also invited to attend the solemn liturgy in the nave beginning at noon. And don't miss our family Easter Vigil service tomorrow at 7 p.m. in this space. Thank you for coming and have a blessed weekend.